believe in double standards when it comes to dating. Okay, equal rights, equal lefts when it comes to me. I do believe that paying for the first date is a man thing, though. But let me explain why that is not a double standard. Now, this is only for my Christians and the people who are Christian dating. What do they talk about when we always hear things about Christian relationships? Head of, submission, all these things, right? But what that passage in Ephesians is really talking about is the hierarchy of responsibility. Because if you are the head of something, that means you are a leader. And if you are a leader, that means you go first. That means you lead by example. So if we are both here intentionally dating with the goal of marriage, why would I be the example for us? Right? Why would I do that if you are supposed to be the head?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Granted, Bonquisha. So if a man pays for the first date, it is already assumed that he is the leader. You should follow him from that point forward. All right, for pretty much the rest of y'all lives. He's the lead. He already acknowledged he's the leader. He paid for the first date, and that's how you're supposed to respect him, right, Mr. Walker?
Yes, if he pay, I would imagine. So here's my whole disconnect. How are these women, finding themselves so fully engaged in some kind of relationship or situationships with men they have not pinpointed as a leader? You know what I'm saying? Like, I asked my wife these things. Here's a little Jim. I said, what's one of the reasons you wanted to marry me with my rough around the edges self? She said, because you were a leader. You show leadership qualities. I said, okay, I appreciate it. Didn't see it back then. But that's why I'm so lost. And again, Bonquisha's biggest issue, she would not accept the fact that you are who you attract. So, you know what I'm saying? If you attract in subpar guys that aren't leaders, seriously, what does that say about you? As soon as they take that approach, they won't have these gripes.
Somebody said her wig was atrocious, and I agree. So I'm gonna say that first. I think you are supposed to be, as a young lady, the leader of your subset of duties, right? So you're a woman in a submissive role. You are the leader of like your household, what your family's eating, your scheduling your son's appointments or your husband's appointments, or anything that has to do with the house and nurturing your family. You are in control of those things. Those are the things that you could be considered the leader of. But are you the leader of your husband, of the things that your husband is supposed to do? Are you supposed to be challenging your husband's words after he's made a decision in something? I think that you need to be specific in what you are the leader of, because a woman's duty in a household, working with the man is different than the man's role of duties, working with the woman under one roof to run the family.
And again, I'm not saying that the person that you're dating should be doing husbandly things for you. Like, I'm not saying that the person you're dating should be paying your bills or should be providing, protecting you. Like, whatever you believe and subscribe, like husband duties, I'm not saying that your boyfriend should be doing that. What I'm saying is that if you are intentionally dating somebody, you should be showing them the qualities that you would bring into a marriage. You should be living that kind of lifestyle in your singleness, because when you get married, nothing is just going to switch on for you, right? You're not going to wake up the day after your wedding and be like, oh, well, time to be a wife. Oh, well, time to be a husband. No, you have to live like a husband in your single season. Live like a wife in your single season. And that's really all I'm looking for when I'm going out on dates is, what does your lifestyle look like? Could I really submit to your leadership? Can you even do stuff by yourself? Can you make things happen by yourself in your single season? That's the kind of stuff that I feel like we should be looking for and should be really selfish about when we are dating people. Like the first date thing, if you don't pay for me on that first date, to me it just shows me that it's not a lifestyle thing that you have of taking care of stuff, right? Making stuff happen. And I don't want to be with nobody like that.
So There we go. Young sister up here. What you got, HQ? I see you making the face.
No, I mean, I agree with her on some parts. I agree that, you should be, and I should be showing you that I'm mature enough to handle a stable, productive relationship. That's what you should be showing the other person. Being a wife, pretending to be a wife, not necessarily. But just because he doesn't pay for your lifestyle before you get married doesn't mean he doesn't have leadership qualities or he's not a leader. Maybe he's just mature enough to understand that you're a person that's inconsiderate and selfish because you're asking for something like that, right? I would never do that. I go 50-50 on everything until we got to the point where we decided, okay, maybe this is something we can pursue. And then maybe we will start to conjoin our resources and maybe we'll start doing things together and you paying and I'm paying and this, that, and the third. But I would never expect a man to pay on the first date and say that means he's not a leader because he's not paying on the first date.
Let me say this. Let me say this, HQ. Now, this is so. Can he only show that he's a leader? Is that the only way to show he's a leadership? And I think that's what she is saying pretty much. And how can the man be a leader if he has zero control over you? And we very well understand that today's modern woman's cry is you can't control me. Any dude that tries to come in with too much structure is controlling. And shout out to Corey Holcomb. He's the first person I ever heard say it, that men cannot protect what they don't control. And they sure as heck can't guide or give leadership skills to people they can't control. So where are we? They got a man and can't do nothing for you if he has no say so over you. What can he do?
Well, I mean, my knee-jerk reaction, of course, my knee-jerk reaction is going to be, I'm an adult just like you. We walked on this planet together. So we're supposed to learn lessons together. Those lessons that we learn are to be a man, to be a husband, to be a provider, to be all of these things. These are lessons that you have to learn. Whether you have a wife or a girlfriend or not, you're supposed to learn these things on your own. You're supposed to learn how to treat another human being that comes into your space. You're supposed to learn how to be a wife, not necessarily practice at being a wife with someone, but you should know a wife is supposed to be supportive. Okay. I'm not saying you walk into somebody's house and say, I got to control everything. Most women are going to balk at that. You can't, that's one thing you cannot do. You cannot walk into a situation and say, you're going to do everything I tell you to do.
Now, wait, now stop. Yeah, I agree. See, that's not control. Like when men have to control you, goodness gracious, I don't want to get granular, but for instance, our sister Mrs. Rockwell had told a couple stories where I know one story in particular where she said she was going out in a particular top, and one or some of the men in her family said no. This is what I mean by protecting and guidance. The thought may have been innocent, but it took the men's insight to see that it was flawed. Right. That's what I mean by control. He got to control that situation. You see what I mean? Not you're gonna do everything I say. We gotta take the negative out of it.
Yeah, but I'm coming to you as a female of a modern day female. A modern day female looks at it that way. She looks at it as control. She looks at it as telling me what to do because she knows she grew up. She knows that she is an adult, just like you're an adult. If we come from the same crappy situation, you came from a broken home, I came from a broken home. Where did you learn to be a leader? Did you put yourself in a position to be a leader? Okay, yes. Then I put myself in the same position to be a wife. So I don't need to be told how to be a wife. I have researched that. I have looked it up. I have decided I wanted to be a wife. So therefore, I did things to make sure that I could be a wife and step into that role, right? If you want to be a wife, I'm not saying telling someone I would like this done is control. I'm saying the way modern day women look at it, because we came from the same circumstances, they think of it as control. They think of it as a bad thing.
I'm laughing because I was going through my wedding box and I was looking at, and I'll go pull it for y'all, but the word that I wrote over my premarital package that you get at church. The word that I wrote over the name of the packet was submission. Like the word was like I was the only one in there acting a fool in that whole premarital counseling class. Like my husband could tell y'all, like I was real just when it came to that. Like, you know, I'm an older sister. I was raised Catholic. You know, at one point I thought I wanted to be a nun, you know, kind of working in public health. Like I wanted to be like a Mother Teresa. But I just remember thinking like, if submission means he's going to control me, and like I don't want to. If we're going to get married and you're telling me that I have to submit in some way that just sounded so biblical and scary to me, I was like, you know, I was fighting them on that, and I was saying some really childish things. And there was a lady in the classroom that was she was probably, I got married at 25, so I probably was 24 in this class. And this was her second marriage. Her first husband died. She married him when she was 16. They were from South Georgia. And he was like, I think he probably was like 40 when they got married. So basically, she nursed him into death, HQ, like, you know, and he was very strict. Like she had to wear dresses all the time. Dinner had to be cooked at a certain time. He was very regimented. And she was like, she gave me that example and asked me if that was how he was treating me while we were shacking up. And that was another thing. I'm always very honest with the situation. Like we didn't go into premarital counseling lying about the fact that we were shacking up. So these people knew all of our business, especially me. Like I'm going to tell it, right? You know, like my husband is very quiet, very reserved, you know, but anyway, all of these horrible examples that she was telling me, having been married to this man for like 35 years, and during all of that, she was so ready to get married to this truck driver guy that was nothing like the man she had just been married to. He was like 6'6", big chest, like thick, like neck, like he lifts 70 pounds, like a wrestler / football player with a gold grill in his mouth. And he treated this lady like so like delicately. She walked softly, she talked softly, and she had endured like this horrible life with this man that was her husband before. But my dad and other people that were counseling me had to explain that, one, he probably could have been saving her from something way worse. I don't know what times were like back then, so I can't speak on what women were or were not. But my dad told me that Black women and Black men have never ruled over one another. They always work together. Like it's a myth that Black men work Black women to the bone. Like that my dad said it's always been side by side together, working together. So, you know, when the lady told me that, and then I had the conversation with my own parents about being childish about this word submission, I came to the understanding that in order for my father to provide for my mother, there's a set of duties she has to submit to, period. Like only I have a certain set of responsibilities, and it's only my responsibility to carry those out. So I don't have a problem with submission now. And I think if young ladies could be explained with real life examples of other women, like that lady's situation, being married to a very cold man that treated her very much so kind of like a maid, you know, that's what you think about when you hear submission, excuse me, when you're a young lady and you hear the word submission. And it's not mature, it's childish. And I started with that too. But I grew out of it. And by the time I was 25, I was on the right page, and I've been on that page since.
That part.